You are watching Co-op for Two, broadcasting live from Champaign, Illinois, September 21st, 2022. It's Wednesday night, Thursday morning, 1 a.m. And we are playing turn 11 of the Murders by Mail, play-by-mail game called Bloom of Hollywood, LA.Noire Bloom of Hollywood. If you haven't watched the previous 10 sessions, you should watch those first. This is not a good place to jump in. The chat could let me know if the audio and video is okay. We've played the Sherlock Holmes Detective, Sherlock Holmes Fellowship of Bones turn 11 earlier this evening, and we actually, despite it feeling like both of these cases are wrapped up and we know how to solve them, we actually got some new leads in the Sherlock Holmes case. And I'm hoping that we'll get some new leads in this LA case. Otherwise, we may be ready to open up the envelope and try to solve this case maybe next session or one more. If we check in on our notes here that I just sketched out for us, we have known for a long time who our primary suspect is, who we're almost certain who's at the heart of this murder of Violet York, aka Violet Fitzgibbon. Just to remind you, here is Violet right here. And we've known for a long time that her sister likely killed her, poisoned her. And the sister's boyfriend, Julio Ramirez, it turns out, took us a long time to track him down. We actually finally broke in his door. He rabbited out the window and escaped. And it was frustrating during our last session that we weren't able to locate him. We could see he drove away in a car. The game wouldn't let us go to the DMV or check used car lot near him. So he seems to be in the wind, and we can't think of a way to find him, which is disappointing. It's not just disappointing emotionally, though, but it's also a key unresolved and in our understanding of the case, because we know that the sister has orchestrated this, and we think that Julio has been delivering the poisoned food to Violet and to kill her. But Violet died of poisoning and then was bludgeoned on the head. And we don't know if Julio did that or if Violet did that. So there's sort of we know both of them are involved. We know the sister probably has a good motive of jealousy, financial gain, if she's hoping to take over her movie roles. I'm hoping that we're also going to discover that the sister, Poppy, took out life insurance on Violet. That would be another very good motive. But we don't have a great motive for Julio other than he's wrapped around the finger of Violet. But we're told Julio is a very attractive young guy and Poppy's sort of over the hill. So it's not super convincing what Julio's motive in all this is and exactly what role he had. Did he mastermind it? Did Poppy mastermind it? We can't get that information from either of them, it seems. So that's bothering me a little bit. But I've just written up a couple of our notes here. We've also solved our side case, which was a combination side case and alibi. In the paper, you'll remember there are some fire and shipping container. Police think it's guns. Is it drugs that are being smuggled in? Well, it turns out our gang connection, Rosselli, we've now confirmed that they were smuggling in heroin and they probably burned this container to cover that up. That also gives them kind of an alibi for the night of Violet's murder. We know who did it anyway, so we don't really need the alibi. And then I made a couple of notes here about unresolved things. Is there a way to find Julio? There was some discussion before about whether maybe the Mexican paper might have him. We've got his last name, but doesn't seem to be helping us. We tried hard to get the MV information about his car. We couldn't do it. I also had another thought about this ashtray. I was going back through our notes and trying to find out. We know that she was hit on top of the head with an ashtray to make it look like that was her murder. I couldn't really find whether we recovered that ashtray or not from the scene. When we go to the scene, it says the cops have probably taken all the evidence away, but then when we go to the cops, they don't mention it. I'm a little concerned about, not concerned, but that would give us an avenue to, for example, if someone pawned the big expensive glass ashtray, we could track them down that way, or maybe they still have it. Just an idea. All right, so let's open our reply. If anyone has anything else to talk about, to mention in the chat, any movies, scene, TV scene. We do have to decide what game to play next. We've been playing Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective West End Adventures. We could play another case there, or we could try playing something else. Happy to hear suggestions. There's a forum guild on Board Game Geek for the Co-op for Two channel. You can find that link on the YouTube community tab. And I'd be happy to hear suggestions for what games people want to play next. Okay. If there's nothing else, let's just remind ourselves where we went. Okay, the main one that I'm interested in is this life insurance company. I've been wanting to go there for a while. I'm hoping that we sort of get lucky and find out that Violet took out life insurance, that Poppy took out life insurance on Violet. So we sent Naomi to sort of con the person into revealing information. She's good at that. We sent Bev to Mitch Kester's house. Mitch is the weekend delivery driver for Stoddard's. And we don't think he's going to have that much information that's useful, but since we've lost track of Julio, we're hoping maybe he might have some information about Julio, since Julio was one of the other delivery drivers. And then we sent Bill McKnight to his contact, his friend at the Hall of Records, just to see, that's one of our informants, to see if there's any information there. If we look at our informants here, the Hall of Records is described how? Going to the hall can be a chore, but Faye makes it a little brighter. Pique her interest and she'll help find what you need. So that's why we sent Bill McKnight there. It's his friend Faye. Let me just mark this. We didn't have a really good reason to go there. We are sort of interested in Poppy's ex-husband, if we could find him, because we want to get more information on Poppy. Maybe we can get more of a motive. I sort of suspect that she may be jealous of her sister's affections with her mother. We can see from the paper that it's Mother's Day. And I wonder if part of her motivation for killing Violet is jealousy that the sister is the mother's favorite. So I was hoping maybe we could find an ex-husband or a boyfriend who will give us the dirt on Poppy. All right, let us begin. Bev went first to talk to the other Stoddard's guy. Went to S53 like you asked. It's a rundown little house on Manchester with empty beer bottles on the front porch, and I can smell the reefer before I even knock. Seems like Mr. Kester might just be a fan of marijuana. A grizzled old man in boxers and a tank top opens the door, and I know I made a face. You ain't Mitch Kester, are you? The hobo shakes his head and shuffles back inside, leaving the door cracked. A minute later, and another younger bum pulls it back open. Looks mellow enough, but hasn't shaved in a week and has deeply bloodshot eyes. Yeah? You Mitch? You work at Stoddard's up in Hollywood? He considers me. He's not so far gone in the weed that he can't think, but he's smoked up for sure. Good. Hopheads tend to be lousy at keeping their traps shut. Yeah, why? You ever take a delivery up to Violet York's place? May 10th, maybe? He frowns. No, she's on Julio's rotation. He's obsessed with her or something. Julio Ramirez? What do you mean, obsessed? Kester shrugged. I don't know. He always took her orders up, is all. We all got regulars, but he talked about her a lot. Told me one time he was seen a chippy looked just like her. Yeah? Ever meet this girl? Nah, don't get me wrong. Julio's a good-looking guy, but I think he was just blowing smoke. Smoke, huh? I guess you'd know all about that. His eyes go a little glassy. Must have been too clever for him. Finally, what's this about anyway? Breaks through the haze. Why are you asking? I don't think I want to tell you nothing. Oh, shucks, I say, willing my eyes not to roll. You're too sharp for me, Mitch. Guess I'll be on my way. I leave him standing there, scratching his ass, looking proud he didn't rat anyone out. Okay, totally useless. We knew all this information. Again, it's Julio saying he's got a girl that looks just like her. We know he's dating the sister Poppy. Totally useless. Okay, so here's Bill McKnight going to his person in records. Let's just make this. Oh, this is reply 10. Hall of Records. I walked into the hall and asked for Faye at the main desk. A few minutes later, and she emerged from the stacks with a box full of files, saw me, and practically threw them onto a counter. Will! She came over and gave me a hug, beaming. If nothing else, seeing Faye would make a fella's day a little bit brighter. How she stayed so bubbly working in such a dreary place, I couldn't fathom. Hi, Faye, I hugged her back. Sorry, this isn't a social call, but... Oh, posh, she smiled, pulling me to one of the long tables at the end of the desk. You always bring me such interesting puzzles. What do you need? I explained the case as quickly as I could and spread my hands on the tabletop. I'm after background more than anything. York's a stage name, family name's Fitzgibbon. Mother's name is Rose. There's at least one sister, too. That enough to start? Faye popped up. Sure thing, let me do some digging. Half hour later, there were a dozen different folders and record books spread out on the table. Faye grinned as she pointed to things in turn, clearly enjoying the paper trail she'd been chasing. Which brings us to Rose Watley, born 1889. She married John Fitzgibbon in 1911, and they had 3 children. A son, Adler, in 1912, daughter Poppy in 1914, and daughter Violet in 1922. Her finger jumped to another book. John died in 1936, natural causes. Adler joined the Navy, died in Guadalcanal, 1942. USS Quincy. Another jump. Violet took the York name in 1943, bought her house the next year. Anything more on the sister, I asked? Sounds as if she's still around. Faye dug into a folder and pulled out a sheet. Poppy Fitzgibbon, 34, married in February 1946 to a Michael Wood. Divorced, she chuckled. June 1946. Not exactly true love, I guess. I copied the last of the info down. Thanks, Faye. This is great. You're a peach. Can I buy you some lunch? Always, Mr. Knight. Okay, so mostly stuff we know, but we did get the name of the ex-husband, Michael Wood. We've been looking for that. And we met Faye. All right, let's see if we can find Michael Wood. I'd be very happy if we could. M. Wood, there we go. All righty. There's our M. Wood. Well, that's excellent. I mean, it's nice. It would be nice to get more information on Poppy, so that's really excellent. So we've got a new lead here, Michael Wood, Poppy's ex-husband, and he's at S79. Okay, that's really excellent. A nice bit of new information. No one likes Poppy, and but the husband may have heard Poppy talking bad about the sister or the mother, so that's actually quite nice. Okay, now the life insurance company. This is the one I'm hoping will crack our case wide open in terms of motive. Let's see. Will, the secretary at Aetna asked me to wait in the main lobby for a while. Then a secretary shuttled me to an office on the 4th floor, and I waited some more. Finally, a man in a good suit and giant round glasses came out of the door in the rear. By the way, this is why we sent Naomi. We were hoping it might be a male insurance agent, and she might be able to charm him. Miss Poe, is it? I'm Andrew Kelly. He reached his hand out for a shake, very professional. My secretary said you're inquiring about Violet York, the actress? That's right. He held up his hand. I'm sorry to say we don't have any life insurance policies with the studios. We're exclusively for individuals at this point, and Miss York wasn't among our clients. Ah. Do you know, I believe Hoffman Akey is the primary studio insurer. They start policies on all of their contract players for just this kind of a sad incident. I tried to think if there was another question Kelly could answer before I asked it. He blinked at me through his huge lenses, looking like a gabardine owl. I decided there wasn't much else to be learned here. I suppose that's all I need. Thanks, Mr. Kelly. Oh, that's disappointing. Hoffman Akey is the studio insurer. They start policies on all of their contract players for just this kind of incident. I really was hoping Poppy took out insurance on her sister. Miss York wasn't among our clients. Well, I wish she had thought to ask if Fitzgibbon took out a policy, but it sounds like he's saying he would have said if she had a policy for her sister. Well, who's Hoffman Akey? I mean, if it's the studio insurance, it's not that useful. But here is the insurance company for the studios, M55. So I suppose we may want to go there. Let's put it in our thing. M55. The thing is, this seems like if this was a policy, it would be a matter of course policy that wouldn't give us much of a motive or incentive. They're not going to take it. It's not going to be for the sister, right? It's just going to be that the studio gets money if one of their stars dies, but it's not really a good motive. Although I suppose it's always possible we'll go there and it turns out that the sister got doubled down on the policy through that same insurance agent. So that's possible. All right. So let's talk about what we want to do next. Surely we want to go to the ex-husband. That's number one. It seems like we should probably go to this other insurance company and at least put that idea to rest one way or the other. That leaves us one more place we can go. So let's talk about our options for the third place, and then we'll talk about who we want to send where. So one option for our third place could be another informant. We've got three more. We've got the Daily Variety, who I noticed they know Hollywood news, gossip, and rumors, and they're mentioned in this paper about Violet's death. It says Daily Variety reports her next film would have reunited her. Okay, so the Daily Variety knows Hollywood gossip. That seems like a reasonable place to get a reasonable informant to go to. Attorney at Law and another newspaper, The Examiner. They're just shots in the dark. But if you had to pick one of these first, it might be Felicia Rhodes at the Daily Variety. Okay, that's one option for where we could send someone. We've got a couple more leads that we haven't finished up going to. One was the idea that maybe we could find Julio if we go to the Mexican newspaper. Maybe they know about him. Seems a stretch, but it's possible. Then there were a couple of leads that we think are for people that we're already convinced aren't involved, but there's one of the clubs we haven't been to yet. I believe there's the photographer who took a photo with the assistant district attorney where she ruined her marriage. We don't think they're involved, but we could go there. We could try going to the police department near where Julio lives. Unlikely. It's likely that's going to say we're not allowed to go there. Anything more in this list here? And then there are a bunch of other places we could go just for the fun of it. We could go to another studio and see if Poppy is trying to shop herself around. Any thoughts from the audience? I say we go to ex-husband, the other insurance company, and one more. So we just got to pick one more place to go. Either another one of the informants, or the Mexican newspaper, or one of the clubs that is probably unrelated to our case, or the photographer for the ADA. Or we could go to one of the places that, if we're, Jonathan Jang points out that I was really hot on finding his car, and we tried going to the DMV and the next door used auto place to see if we could find him, and both of those the game seemed to suggest that they weren't valid entries. It asks you if you can justify why you want to go there. If we have to pick one of those to do, I think it would be the DMV. And it says, by the way, I was thinking when that producer said Poppy is talented, but they wouldn't hire her because of her obnoxious personality. That didn't sound very realistic. Or Jonathan says we could get the free hot dogs mentioned in the paper. Well, you say that as a joke, but I am absolutely willing to put some of these in just for fun. The free hot dogs is tempting, especially because if the game says, hey, what do you want to do there, then we can give it up. You could actually look at where these places are to see if they would be, if they're right next to something. Or the local police department to see if they know Julio. So what do you guys think? What's the third place you want to go? Anna says go to the Mexican paper. We may have to make multiple choices because if it says why do you want to go there, then we'll move on. Okay, let's make our decisions about who to send where to our two places we know we want to go. All right, so we're going to go to the insurance agency and we're going to go to the ex-husband. So I think we should send Bill Knight to the ex-husband because they can commiserate on dames and divorce. Whereas if we send Naomi, he may be reluctant, the ex-husband, to say bad things about his ex-wife. So I think Bill McKnight is the best person to talk to the ex-husband. He'll be like, yeah, those dames, you can't live with them, you can't live without them. All right, so if we send Bill Knight to the ex-husband, that's S79. Ex-husband, Michael Wood. And then the insurance agent, I still think Naomi's our best bet for getting information out of people. Bev is not going to be able to weasel information out of an insurance company, so it's got to be Naomi. So Naomi's going to the other insurance agency. It makes sense. She went to the first one. It makes sense that she would go to the second one. That leaves Bev, the boxer auto mechanic, to send to the third place. Jonathan Jenks says you could flip Naomi and Bill for sure. I don't think it would hurt either way. Naomi could charm the ex-husband, but I just think, yeah, I mean, certainly is reasonable, but I like it this way. Anna also wants Knight to go to the insurance and Naomi to the ex. Okay, let's do it. I'll swap it if the audience feels strongly. Okay, so Bill McKnight is going to the insurance and Naomi is going to the ex-husband. You guys get your wish. All right. Bev, where do we send Bev? Bev is not much for gossip. Shall we try sending Bev to the Mexican newspaper and see what happens? I'm not sending Bev to the ex. The ex-husband, we want that information badly. Bev is too blunt an instrument. We need, Bill McKnight is good at detecting lies. That's why I think Bill McKnight. A used car lot in the paper. Yeah, but we went to the car lot right next to him and it didn't have any entry. Where is this? S13. Is it anywhere near where Julio lives? So Julio lives here. The used car lot in the paper, though the fact that it's in the paper really is not very important. So yeah, we wrote it down. There's where there's a used car lot. But I think maybe we must have tried this. All right, I'll tell you what we'll do. Let's put in our main entries, and we'll experiment a little with Bev. We'll try to send Bev to the used car lot, and then maybe we'll send Bev to get a hot dog or the Mexican store. Most of them we expect will give us no reply. So let's just try this. You guys want to send Bev to the insurance? No, now you're being crazy. Bill and Naomi have to go to the insurance and the ex-husband. And you're already making me send Naomi to the ex-husband, which I'm a little concerned about, that he might be a little shy around Naomi and not as willing to say bad things about his ex-wife. But I guess Naomi, you really can't go wrong with Naomi. She reads the room. She knows whether to come off as charming or lie or whatever. So I guess you're always safe with Naomi. All right, let's go put in our entries, and then we'll experiment a little bit with where we send Bev and see if we can cross out a couple places. All right, so Bill McKnight is going to M55. Naomi is going to S79. And then Bev is where we're going to try some experiments that are probably going to require us to do a couple shots. All right, let's send her first as our first guest to the Mexican newspaper. It's actually pretty near where Julio lives, so maybe we'll get lucky. S12. Okay. Sorry. Okay, so I suspect, let me just verify that that's husband is S79. Yes, okay. All right, so I suspect when we submit this, it's going to complain about Bev trying to go to S12, the Mexican newspaper, but we'll see. If it lets us go, it lets us go. All right, here we go. Send move. Oh, look at that. That's interesting, isn't it? First entry, it let us go right to the Mexican newspaper. Now don't forget, the game doesn't know. It could know, but it doesn't really pay attention to whether we've already found Julio. So it wouldn't be very surprising if it expected us to go there instead of finding Julio from the delivery company. So I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't send us to Julio's house, which we've already been. But you never know. Okay, so a little bit of a surprise. So we sent, let's write it down, we sent Bev to the Mexican newspaper, S12. Well, that's interesting. I should have sent her to the free hot dogs first to see. All right, well, I am very curious about the husband, to hear what the husband has to say about Poppy. That's the one. I really thought we were going to catch her taking life insurance on her sister, though. Jonathan Jang, who's going to play the Sherlock Holmes case, or is playing it, says, without spoiling, how have you liked the Sherlock case in comparison? Jonathan says, we could look at the personal notes about Mother's Day in the paper to see if Michael Wood is mentioned. Probably not, since we have a new name. Yeah, let's do that while we answer Jonathan Jang's question. I think I'll summarize the two cases by saying that we seem to have figured this one out very early on, whereas in the Sherlock Holmes case, we have not. It took us longer to figure out what was going on, but I would also say that the characters and places in the LA case have been significantly more compelling to us than the Sherlock Holmes characters and places. I won't comment on the actual core of the mystery, just on the how interesting the characters and places are, and the time and the setting. For some reason, the Sherlock Holmes one doesn't seem as compelling there. Okay, just fumbling around, but Jonathan said let's take a look at the personals and see if Michael Wood comes up anywhere else. Now that we have a new name. We've got this long list of personals, and we've not found a single hit on it related to our case. Same thing here. Nothing. Let me put markers where we sent people. I think I may have forgotten to do this a couple times. All right, so Bill McKnight we sent to M55. And then Naomi, yellow, she went to S79, right there. That's where the husband lives. And then Bev went to the Mexican newspaper, which is S12. Way down there. Was S11 where Julio is? Julio is at S27. Julio was here. So, I mean, if you look around where Julio lives, there's a cemetery, country club. You know, you might wonder, where would he hide out? Where would he run off? He would run off to see Poppy, you would think. But we've already visited Poppy at her clubs and everything. Catching back up with the chat. John says, do you remember anyone ever mentioning a car description that matches one from the used car ad? Jonathan says, I'm wondering if there's a way we can find out more about Poppy and her wanting more attention from Mom. Well, that's what we're hoping to get from her ex-husband. That's absolutely what we're hoping to get from the ex-husband, more background information on Poppy and her hatred for her family. It would be great if we could figure out where Julio would go, though. so we could catch him. I mean, it's a safe bet that he would go to meet up with Violet, but where would they go? And is it his car? Or has he stolen a car? Can we think of any other place that... I mean, we found the hotel Poppy is staying in. Where is the hotel that Poppy is staying in? It was at the hotel, the Knickerbocker Hotel, H28. So she's staying here. Let's just look at this for a second. She's staying here. I was just thinking, you know, if there's like a club next door, you could imagine she might meet him there. What's the Hollywood Depot? H39. You can meet him in a park. Seems a bit of a stretch, though. Another thing you could imagine, this is another just trying to think outside the box. We confront Julio, right? And he rabbits out the window on a single-story thing, and then we hear him drive away in a car. So we tried to walk around nearby and see if there were any car places that he could have stolen a car from, because we don't know if he owns a car. But another thing you could imagine, if you were a real detective, you could say, did he get injured going out that car, going out that window? And if so, would we find him in a hospital? But it doesn't seem like he got injured. A one-story jump onto plants. Where would he go? All right, let's think about it logically, just for fun, since we have a little bit of time here. If you were trying to track down a suspect that had escaped, you might imagine, that's right, a friend or relative or family. That's right. That's exactly right. That would be your first guess. So we've tried to look up his name in the directory. We found no Ramirez. We are going to the... Yeah, there's no Ramirez in the directory. We did go to the Mexican newspaper nearby. We're hoping that maybe they've got a lead on his family or his whereabouts. The next place that you would expect he might go is to Poppy. I think he's in danger from Poppy. Once she realizes that the cops are onto him, that we're onto him, she may try to get rid of him. But that doesn't mean he wouldn't try to get to her. The only problem is we've already been to her hotel and you can't go back. You can't go back, right? Have we actually tried going back? I believe the rules say you can't go back, but what if we... I think we better make a note to ourselves to try going back to a place. I believe, Jonathan, you're right that you can't go back, but I'm just going to make a note here. Confirm you can't I'm fairly sure that I'm almost positive that right. That's right. Otherwise, you could try going to all these places many times. I think maybe though on our leads that we might consider more highly, if that's like if we all agree that we probably can't find him, but that finding him would be huge, then we might want to seriously consider. So I think stopping by the police precinct in Julio's neighborhood wouldn't be a bad idea. If they know him, they might know his family. Although he's living alone in an apartment. Jonathan Warner says, maybe it'll turn out Julio left town and we're actually saved him from meeting up and getting killed by Poppy later. That's an interesting idea. It's going to be very interesting to see how this game ends. What happens when we open that black envelope? The game has promised us that our decisions and actions can have consequences and that the culprit is actively trying to thwart our investigations, but we've seen no evidence of any of that in anything we've done. So we don't know what's going to happen when we open that envelope at the back. We don't know if the game is going to be true to its word, that maybe it's going to look at how long it took us to solve it and then do certain things, or based on our answer, certain things will happen. We don't know. But finding Julio, like, if you were really trying to solve this case as a cop, Julio is your really number one wish list, right? Because we think the sister has masterminded all this. That means our best bet would be catching Julio and flipping him. Telling him the sister has left you out to dry. She's gonna kill you if you don't get on the right side of this. And he's driven away in a car. It really hurts me that we can't go to the DMV to find out his car records and put an APB on them and go to the cops. Try to catch him in that car. All right, well, let's give some thought to if there's any other ideas about how we could find Julio. Maybe we'll get lucky with this Mexican newspaper. I suspect it's just going to point us to the house that we already visited. But you never know. All right, so I'll see you on the next Play by Mail session in about a week, and maybe between now and then we'll play another game, either another West End Adventures case or something else. Thanks for keeping me company for this. I'll see you next time.